I know it just always makes that noise. Well, as Dara mentioned, Kate and I are with the Montana Nonprofit Association, and we are excited to be joining you for the course of this series. For those of you that know us as the Montana Nonprofit Association, you might be members, you may have heard of us. For those of you that don't, we are an organization that exists to serve nonprofits across the entire state of Montana. We do this through membership, through advocacy and policy work, and through training and education and resources, such as this series that we're going to be working on with you guys. I want to just make sure that everyone can hear and see and utilize chat before we jump in too far. So down at the bottom of your screen, there's a little box that says chat. And if you would just want to type in, hi, hello, how are you in there, just to make sure that works, because we'll be using a combination of that as well as unmuting ourselves. Welcome, Glendive Chamber of Agriculture. Hi, Kate. Hi, Kristen.
Oops.
Hi, Julie. Hi, Verna. Wonderful. Okay, that was test number one. Well done, everyone. The next thing I want to ask you guys to do is go ahead and unmute yourselves and say hello and maybe give your name. Kate, is it okay if we do that right now? Yeah, we'll give that a try. So in the bottom or the top right corner, if you move your mouse and go to your video and you see your name or your face on the top right, there's a button that says mute or unmute. If you are muted, and Verna, you are not muted. So if you wanted to say hello, we can hear you. If you want to say hi and where you're joining from, and what made you attend this training tonight, we'll do a little round of intros and practice that.
Hi, I'm Verna Carpenter. I'm representing Frontier Gateway Museum. We do have a website, but it definitely needs to be updated. So I'm just hoping to learn how to do that.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here, Verna.
You're welcome.
Elaine, I see you just came off mute if you want to chime in. And Elaine, we cannot hear you. This is why we do the tech check. Elaine, you might go down to the left-hand side of your screen, and there's a little up caret by the microphone that says mute, and you can go ahead and test your speaker and microphone there to see if it's hooked up to the right thing. And while you're doing that, Kristen, do you want to say hello?
Hello, my name's Kristen Oss, and I ranch and build websites north of Glendive, and even though I've been doing it for a long time, I know you can always learn more. And everything that you have sent so far sounds like I'm in the right place. So I'm looking forward to this.
Wonderful. We're happy to have you. And then let's see, Julie, if you want to go ahead and unmute and say hello. Thanks for letting us know, Julie. No worries. So Julie just typed in, she has no microphone available tonight. So Julie, if you have questions, comments, feedback, go ahead and chat it in. And then Beth, here with EPEDC, if you want to say hello. And thanks, Elaine, for letting me know. And then Beth, we'll see if you want to chime in a bit. And then the Glendive Chamber of Agriculture, if you want to come off mute if you're able and say hello as well.
Hi, everybody. It's Tara Berman from the Glendive Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture. Sorry, it cut off, but I am here tonight because I think that websites are vital to all businesses, and I'm hoping to be able to gain knowledge and share knowledge through this.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you all for being here. Our tech works for the most part. And if a certain piece doesn't work, we've got workarounds for everyone. If at any point in the night, like your internet connection freezes or you get distracted or you have a question, feel free to chat it directly to me and I'll try to troubleshoot as we go through and make sure that you guys have what you need as we get going. Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Kate to officially get us going.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Kate Arpin. I'm the digital platform specialist for M&A. And previously, I was a freelance web designer. And I also worked for the Montana Association of Conservation Districts and helped them build websites for conservation districts across the state. So I have a lot of experience building websites and especially websites for nonprofits and small businesses. And what I specialize in really is simple websites, in getting a website off the ground. I don't do like, not building a website for Nike, I'm just doing like simple things, but it's really important for a business or for a nonprofit or for an organization, for anybody that's trying to get information out into the world. So that's what I do. That's what I like to do. I'm gonna share my screen now. So give me just a minute. And let's see. Oh, I always forget where the start slide thing is. PowerPoint is, I'm a website person, not a PowerPoint person. We'll say that. Oh, we already did our introductions. Nice to see sort of the gamut of website skills here. Elaine, Kristen, sorry, you're building websites, and Verna, you have one, but you need to update it. I love that there's a lot of different knowledges here. And I think the thing about it is that websites can be built by anyone. And there's just different tools depending on your skills and abilities and what you need, of course. So if you guys want to use the chat, I'd love to hear what you guys think you need to know in order to build a website. I know a lot of people are scared of building a website. They think they need to know code or know a lot of different platforms, know how to do things. What kind of special skills do you think you need? Use the chat if you want, if you can.
And if it's easier to go ahead and speak in, you can do that as well.
Yeah, that too. And Shelby, since I'm screen sharing, I can't see the chat. So if you would just.
Yeah. Any brave souls? What's the thing that keeps you from maybe doing more or diving into your website? Dara shares graphic skills, coding, content building.
Yeah, definitely. Here's what I think you need. I think that you need just a basic understanding of the web and how it works. So that's something that we're going to cover tonight. We're going to start with the very basics about just what happens when you type in a website in Google Chrome or whatever your web browser is. Like, what is the internet? Like, how is that working? How is that coming to you? How is website coming to you?
Like, hold on.
Glendive Chamber,
I think they got it.
got it? Okay, great. You also need curiosity, just willingness to learn something new. When I'm training or demonstrating to clients how to use a new website, I just say, push all the buttons. So that's a key skill here. You need to just be comfortable pushing all the buttons. To build a good website, you also need an understanding of your audience. So we're going to cover that tonight. We're going to talk about making a plan for a website and thinking about what kind of content really belongs on a website and what you need to think about to plan for an effective and useful website that doesn't get old quickly, that people find useful, and that really drives business or volunteers or whatever it is you need for your business or your organization. You probably also need some text, some copy, some photos about your organization. So that's a good start. So we'll be covering basics of the web tonight. We'll be talking about starting to understand your audience. And then in the next sessions next week, we'll be diving deeper into understanding audience and like reaching out to your audience and generating content, copy, and photos. So web basics, let's start there. Does anybody know what a domain is? Can anybody chat in an example of a domain?
Kristen.
Kristen,
Come in.
bossranch.com. Yeah. So a domain is the basic address that people use to find your information on the web. For MNA, it's mtnonprofit.org. A domain has a couple components. It has the name and it has the ending, the .org, the .com, the .net. And those are all just different groups of addresses. There's not big differences between them. If you want a .org address, there's nothing you have to do to prove that you're an organization to get it. Sometimes different groups are more expensive, like a .biz or a .info is a little more expensive. .com is the most basic and the most free, or the cheapest, most free. It's not free. It's typically $18 a year for a domain. That's a .com. I just registered a couple yesterday, and it was $18 for a .com and $19 for a .org. So that, to start your website, that is something that you need to be aware of, that's a cost that you'll have to pay. You want to pay it on a yearly basis. And if you don't pay your domain registration, you'll lose your website. Commonly, if a domain lapses, somebody else will buy that domain and then hold it hostage and charge you $1,000 to get it back or more, however much they think they can get out of you. So domain registration is really key, and make sure that you pay for it every year. That said, there are also a lot of scams about domain registration. If you get a domain if you have built your website and you get a piece of mail that says that you need to register your domain for $200, that is a scam. Do not pay that. I always say a web company will contact you on the web. So if it comes by mail, it's a scam. If it comes to your email, double check it. Next is hosting. Hosting is the other cost for a website, and hosting is space on a server where the files for your website are saved. And the key to this is that a server is a computer without a screen, and it's always connected to the internet. So that way, when people are pulling up your website, they can go to that computer, sends out the information on your behalf. That is the information about your website. Hosting charges vary widely depending on what you're buying, what you need, like how many people are visiting your website, how big your website is. A good starting point to expect for a simple website is about $50 a year. I think there's GoDaddy plans that are for $35. I don't love GoDaddy personally, but there's a lot of options out there, a lot of hosting companies, and almost all of them will be about the same price for shared hosting. So this is something to remember, is that your hosting and your domain registration may or may not be provided by the same company, and that's up to you. So for example, you can go to Google and you can register a domain with Google, and then you can point that domain to wherever you have purchased your hosting. That is a possibility. For a lot of people, it's simply easier to purchase hosting and domain all together, to go to GoDaddy or SiteGround, or I can't even think of what another hosting company is because I only use the one. There's lots out there. Most of them will do domain registration for you, and you can have those charges combined together. So you can expect to spend about $70 a year for the basic services of your website. So what happens? What is a website? Like what happens when somebody types in your domain on their computer? You type montananonprofit.org in your browser address bar. Your browser checks ICANN for your domain registration, and your domain registration is a record that you have purchased with ICANN. That's what you pay your $18 for, to say, hey, this address is mine. Save that one for me, okay? And then you also tell ICANN, okay, that address is mine, save it for me. And when people type that into their browser, send them to this server that is my hosting server. So ICANN returns the information to your browser and says, oh, you want that address? Go check with that server. So your browser then knows where to find the information about your website. It contacts the server that hosts your domain, and then the server sends back the files for your website, and it sends it back to your browser. And then that is what you see on your screen. Your browser reads the coded files and says, hey, that website you were looking for, it looks like this, and here's the information that's presented. This is super basic, but it's really important to understand what's happening, what you're purchasing when you are buying hosting for a website or when you're registering your domain. You need to have that address saved. You need the name saved for you. You need space on the server. And then you need to have files to serve to the people that are looking for you. So we just wanted to do a quick quiz. Who here already has a domain?
Me. I do, or Frontier Gateway Museum does.
Okay. Verna, what's your domain?
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy will be your hosting company.
Oh yeah, that's right. Actually, I think it's frontiergatewaymuseum.com, I think.
There you go. Okay. Anybody else already have a domain?
I already have a domain as well.
And you have it registered and you pay for it regularly?
Yeah, it
Kristen?
it just goes to my Facebook page, but I just have it set up to go
Okay.
to my Facebook page. So,
There you go. So you did
because I don't have a website yet.
Yep. So you did a redirect. You
And
need
I,
hosting
get
now and a
email from it,
website.
stuff like that. Yep.
Kristen, I feel you there. I own a lot of domains as well. That's what happens when you build websites. You start to like collect domains. They're like
It can
yeah,
be a bit of
collector's
an
edition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem for me, but
Agreed. URLs. So a URL, this is a part we missed in my what is a website. So a URL is just the domain plus any additional information about the page that someone wants to visit. So for example, for mtnonprofit.org, that's our main website, but we also have a page about our trainings, and that's the learning page. So the URL for the learning page is mtnonprofit.org/learning. So the difference between a domain and URL, the URL is the full address for the page you're accessing. Hosting. Who needs hosting and who has hosting?
I have hosting. I do it through the folks I registered my domain name with, which is Namecheap.
Namecheap. All right. What a name for a company. Anybody else? Verna, you said you have GoDaddy.
Yes.
Yeah. Kristen, I'd love to hear who you use for hosting. Dara, you've got Squarespace. Okay, Kristen has WP Engine. That means she's probably a WordPress web builder. So the next thing, we're going to sidetrack for a minute, because what I want to say is a website is one way to have a web presence, but maybe the easiest way is to have a Google business listing. So these are free, easy to set up, and they will be like when someone searches your business name, that's when the little box on Google search comes up, right? That has you. And you can see I put in here an example of somebody searching for Montana Nonprofit Association and the little box that comes up. So this is simple to do, and I highly encourage everyone that has a business or a nonprofit to go ahead and register your Google business listing, because this will get your basic business contact information out there on the web for people that are looking for you. Business.google.com. You just put in your business name information. You'll need business hours. You'll need a location, website if you have one, phone. They have a verification process, so they'll send you a postcard in the mail to make sure that you really are the person who has the business at that location. Obviously, they don't want fakers, but it's a good starting point for a web presence if you aren't ready to build a website yet. Anybody out there have a Google business listing?
I'm working on mine there. I haven't gotten the postcard that they're supposed to send. So
Do
now
you
I
have
have a ticket open with them to do that. So
Good. Do you have a PO box? Sometimes if you have a PO box, it's a little trickier.
no, it's just my home address.
Okay.
I have been told that other people in Glendive have had similar issues.
Yeah. So if you don't have a physical location or if you don't receive mail at your physical location, it's a little bit trickier. You can do, instead of a location-based business, you can do a service range-based business. So you can pick like the area where you have a business or where you do services. Sometimes that's a better way to go, depending on the way that your services or your business or your organization are set up. Something to explore. If anybody has questions about it, you're welcome to email me. It's easy, but it's different just based on where you are and what you're doing. So I don't want to example a setup process because it will be different for everyone. Okay, so the next thing we're going to move into is planning for a website. And this, to me, is really one of like the essential steps. What I have found in my experience with websites is that people launch right in. People say, I want a website, I need a website, and I'm going to put all this stuff on here and like take it back a notch. Like, let's just settle down. The first thing to think about is, why do you need a website? Who is going to be using it? What information do they need to get from your website? And then who will manage it? How much time do they have? And are they comfortable learning how to manage the website? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Anybody tell me about who might be using your businesses? Verna, the
Well,
museum. I imagine you might have maybe people who want to visit the museum looking for your hours.
Right. People who are doing research, people who are tourists, hopefully. And
Okay.
yeah, wanting to know what we have to offer, plus what we have. And we have some sales. We have books, that we sell. So.
Okay, so you might want like occasional posts about your sales.
Mhm.
Yeah. And because you're hoping tourists will visit, actually a Google business listing would be super key for you, because tourists are always using Google Maps to find what's nearby and interesting. So that would be, if you don't have that already, I highly recommend doing that.
Okay.
Anybody else? Glendive Chamber of Commerce. Tell me about who might use your website. And I can-
Sure. Yeah, so we have probably a large variety. We have local business owners as well as local residents. And then we have out of state or non-local residents that would come to our website to look up a variety of things from businesses to events happening within our community. So those are probably the two main things that they would need to be able to look up. And then just other tourist information. So we also have a page where you can go to visit Glendive and be able to look up the different things to do are now surrounding area with like the park and things like that.
Right. So you have kind of two audiences. Maybe you have people who are business owners who want to know about what the chamber does, who want to know who the other members of of the chamber are. But you also have general community members who are looking for information on businesses, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that kind of makes it difficult to know how to cater our website. And then
Yeah.
it has to be mobile friendly as well. That's
course.
probably key for most websites anymore. But yeah, definitely for a visit page, it has to be mobile friendly.
Yep. Definitely all websites should be mobile friendly at this point. If like people are more likely, honestly, to visit a website on their phone than on the computer.
Kate, to that point, are there any, and I know we'll talk about platforms, so maybe I'll just bookmark this question. Are there any platform builders out there that are not as mobile friendly or that don't have as good transferability in that arena?
Not that I've been able to compare. And what I would say about that, when we get to platforms, we can talk about it more, but generally it's less the builder and it's more the template that you use. Especially when it comes to WordPress. Kristen will answer that, will agree with me on that, that some are built to be mobile friendly and some just aren't. In 2022, if they're not mobile friendly, like they shouldn't even be coming across your desk. But that said, there might still be some out there. Yeah, mobile first, exactly, Kristen. So the second part of having a plan, and we will be sharing a handout with you that helps guide you into making a plan for your website. And I can share that in a second too. Siobhan and built out a good guide for answering questions and just writing down what you're thinking about when you're thinking about building a website. The second thing is that I see frequently is that people have really big dreams for their website and not a lot of time to do it, right? Or a lot of know how to do it. And my recommendation in that case is scale back your dreams. Like, I hate to say it that way, but a website, like, let's say you think that you have all these events that you want to push out to people. So you want some sort of web calendar that has events. Well, every event that takes somebody to input all that information. And so if you don't have a plan for how you're going to manage that, if you don't have somebody with enough time to manage it or a plan for how to manage it, and then you have a calendar that's empty, that looks worse than having no calendar at all, in my opinion. So it's important to really, before you build out all these cool tools, and I have made this mistake before. A good example, I built a website for the Ennis, Montana adult education program. So continuing ed program tied to the school. And they were like, we want to register people online and we want them to pay online. So I built them this really complex system with all these courses where people could put courses in their shopping cart and then register for them and pay for them. And it pretty quickly became clear that they didn't have the capacity to manage that much. So I spent a lot of time building like a super functional site that just was more than they needed. What they really just needed was a page where they had a list of courses and a simple form to let the managers know that that people were registering for those events, right? So so we scaled that website back, like way back. It became basically just a landing page with a list of that semester's courses. And that's great because that's all the information that people really needed. Now they have a new coordinator, and that new coordinator wants a little bit more flexibility. So we are building out a little bit more for her, right? And so it's important to think about what you're going to do, to make a plan for how you're going to manage it, and to remember that you can always build a one-page site and expand it. And that feels a lot better than building this enormous complex site with events and e-commerce and all the stuff, all your big dreams, and scale it back. So start small is my advice. Start with a landing page that has your business information, that has hours and contact information. That's generally all that people need. So this is a moment to just think about that. Make a plan to make a plan. So Shelby just pulled in the planner that we built, and I am going to stop share and switch over to that planner just so you can see it for a minute. So let's see, right here. Okay, plan your website. Sorry, let me move some things out of the way so I can see you. So we've built this toolkit. We'll share it with you. We'll send it out to you. It's in the chat, so you can download it right now if you want. But we'll also email it to you. This is just a guide with some questions to think about when you're thinking about a website. Audience and purpose, capacity, and then the next thing that we'll cover is the platform to use for your website. So, and the other thing I love about this is Shelby built this as a place to just write down your info so that you have it ready to go. And if you decide that it doesn't make sense for you to build your website, then you have it ready for a designer or for someone else to help you out with it. Audiences to think about: customers and clients, constituents, or your community, board members. Maybe if you're on a nonprofit, maybe you need a board portal, maybe you don't. I just talked with Emily, our office manager, and she wants to take the board portal down because we're pretty sure no one uses it. So I will also say, as a side note, a website is a garden, and just start by planting some seeds, and you can add more later, or you can weed it out later. But don't think of it as a thing that is built once and done. It is an ongoing project. It is a hobby that you're taking on it's not going to go away once you've taken it on. So think about that when you're planning. Let's see, what else did we put in here, Shelby? Capacity. This is a really good section to think about who will be managing your website. What will their roles be? What content will they be responsible for? How much time do they have each week or each month to manage the website? You want to make sure that you have someone logging in regularly and making sure that everything is kept up to date, not just your content, but the back end side of it too, because out-of-date technology is insecure technology, and insecure technology is open for hackers to take over. And trust me, you do not want hackers to take over and put Viagra ads on your website. That's another thing that I've had happen to people who didn't manage their websites. So
Kate's done it.
they weren't my clients. They became my clients after they realized that they weren't managing it well.
Kate's found it out, so you guys don't have to. And I'll note here
Yeah.
this idea as you're talking through staff capacity, and some of you are one-person shops. We speak directly to nonprofits most of the time. So if you're not a nonprofit, you can kind of take this. But that 2-hour mark, as you kind of go through, how much time does this person have each week to dedicate to the website? If it's less than 2 hours, like Kate was saying, that's another reason to just be really simple. I think we can't stress enough that if you don't have over 2 hours a week to think about your website, the more simple it is, the better a user experience people are going to have, because there's nothing worse than getting the phone call from somebody that tried to look up an event on your website, and the last event was in 2019. And they're already kind of frustrated when they're picking up the phone and calling you, as opposed to you have a link or a phone number that says, want to know about upcoming events, call us. And then they're excited to learn more. And so that can really just quickly shift that user experience, and then your experience dealing with that client or customer or donor, whatever that constituent member is.
Yep. And another thing to think about, honestly, is that, and we'll be talking about social media in our next session, in all the social media stuff. But that is something to consider, is that if, say, Facebook is a platform that you're using regularly and that you have more capacity to keep updated, then it makes more sense to have events on your Facebook page and just link your website to your Facebook page. And so if somebody wants to see events, they can see those on that spot that you're keeping updated. No reason to repeat yourself if you're already putting that information out there. And the wonderful thing about technology is that there's a lot of ways to pull in that information to your website and make it look like it's part of your website, and you only put the information in one time. Again, that means making a plan for where and how you'll put your information out on the web. Let's see, I'm just going through, make sure we cover everything that's in this trainer. Yeah. Okay, so the last section is selecting a platform, and so I think I'm going to move on to that section because probably that's what you most are excited about. So I'm going to switch my screen back to the presentation. Choosing a platform. You guys want to chat in or chime in? What platforms have you used? Are you using? What experiences do you have? Tell me about them. Kristen, I'm guessing you're a WordPress developer. Me too.
Can I once again claim my Facebook page as a platform?
You can claim it. It's a platform. I wouldn't call it a website platform.
Fair enough.
Dara, you use Squarespace. Yeah, Glendive Chamber, Squarespace as well. Anybody else have used Squarespace? Dara or Glendive, do you want to tell me what you think about it?
I personally enjoy Squarespace just because it is fairly user-friendly. I did the Glendive Chamber page, and I've more or less have been able to take it and give it to them, and they're managing it themselves. So that's the thing that I like about it.
Yeah, that's good quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the difference is that it's intuitive. So you can be a complete novice and be taught what to do and be able to work in it. And I also love the clean templates that they have. It's very simple, appealing, easy. Yeah.
I agree. Squarespace always to me has just really wonderful curated templates, which I appreciate because it's so easy to get lost in like the template world. And that's one of the real downfalls. I build with WordPress, but WordPress has such an outlandish number of templates and themes that it can feel very overwhelming for a novice. And I've gotten to the point where I just have one that I use and prefer, and can customize depending on the site. Anybody use Wix or anything else? Kristen, great question. I really like using the Divi theme. It has all the capabilities that I generally need. I also highly recommend that there's a theme called Total Theme that I bought off Envato a couple of years ago, and that has also worked really well for me. I use that on conservation district sites. Yeah, Divi. So this is a side discussion, but the magic of WordPress is that it powers 30% of the web, and Divi is a huge theme. So I love it because it has a ton of knowledge base articles. Like there's a lot of people using it. So there's a lot of people that answer your questions out there if you need it. Yeah, 40% now. Thanks for the update, Kristen. So she's right. WordPress powers 40% of the web. It's great, but it's also overwhelming. Squarespace, yeah. So the thing is that all the builders have so many things in common. They'll all have drag and drop options. They'll all have what you see is what you get editors of some variety. They'll be more or less user-friendly. The right one is the one that works for you. It's short comparison of the most popular ones. Squarespace is around $12 a month. That's your hosting and your domain. That includes a custom domain. As Dara said, it has nice, clean templates. It's curated and designy. It also has a built-in donation system. So if you're a nonprofit, that is awesome. Yeah. Wix, similarly priced, also has tons of templates, and the templates, some of them are great, some of them are maybe less great. I think the biggest drawback for me is the bandwidth limit. They have their cheapest plan, the $13 a month one, has a limit that comes out to about 50 visitors a day. Probably, maybe you won't hit that, but at the same time, I don't like that they shorten it down so much. Like that seems like such a small number to me. WordPress, we can go into WordPress is completely customizable to the point of maybe possibly being overwhelming, but at the same time, it's super powerful and can do lots of things. So if you do find yourself in the position that, like, yeah, you do need all those functions, and yeah, you do have a staff member to manage it, and you want to build something that's super custom, or maybe other case, you hire someone to do it, more than likely someone that you hire is going to be a WordPress developer. That's a lot more common than someone who, like, generally developers won't do Squarespace because Squarespace is so easy for a novice to use that it's more likely you'll just do a Squarespace or a Wix website yourself. That makes sense. Verna, do you know how your website is built?
No.
Okay. Did you have somebody build it, or did you?
Well, we had help. We meaning I sat and watched, I guess, mostly. And then it was recently updated by a different person. And then, but it hasn't been updated now, I think, in probably a year and a half or so. I mean, I keep up to date on the hours if they change and that kind of thing. But I mean, the actual site itself, what it looks like, hasn't changed much. And so
How do you change the hours if you change them?
I go to GoDaddy and manage the site.
Okay, so maybe it's like the GoDaddy website builder.
Well, it could very well be, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
hard
not
to say.
familiar with all the terminology. It's just kind of like I'm
Yeah,
learning on the job, so to speak.
that's it. The thing is, we all are. So we're all just on different points of the learning curve, for sure. And because technology changes so quickly, we're all catching up all the time. A couple things to watch out for when you are choosing a platform or a template. When you're looking at a template, the beautiful photos may or may not come with a template. Sorry, excuse me, my phone is ringing. Let me turn it off. Got it. There we go. So photos, like templates can look really gorgeous, but they don't necessarily come with the photos, or when your photos go in, it might not be as beautiful. Look more for the layout that you think fits your content, or look for the fonts, honestly. Another thing to watch out for when choosing a platform is upcharges. For example, if you use WordPress.com, you have to pay to remove ads. You probably don't want other businesses advertising on your business website. So that is a charge that you can expect to have. Wix, you're going to have to pay a little higher to not have a bandwidth limit. Some website builders will charge for custom domains, and others will charge for premium templates. It all depends on the builder. Do your homework before you choose one. So I would like to just, what do you guys think about going through Squarespace, Wix, WordPress, and taking a look at the backends? Everybody agreeable to that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to share. Okay. So Wix, Squarespace, WordPress. Start with Squarespace, and you can just follow along as I get started.
Thanks,
If anybody
Kate.
wants to chime in opinions about what kind of website I should build, please let me know.
And Kate, we gotta prioritize WordPress and Squarespace. Not a ton of interest in Wix tonight.
Totally agree. I personally don't like Wix, so I'm happy with that decision. Okay, we're gonna make a jewelry site. I think I'm going to sell some jewelry. Where in my process? This is great. I love that these are guided questions. I have a hobby. I make maybe some earrings. Okay, again, let's see this template here has a beautiful background photo, but I actually haven't taken any photos of my jewelry yet, so that's probably not going to work for me. I'm going to go with something a little more simple. I'm going to use my Google account to log in because I don't like making new accounts. Please chime in with creative names. All right, how to create pages. So it's giving me a little guide. That's great. We'll wait to style. Okay. And they have a nice intro video, a little assistant that'll help you. I kind of want that assistant to go away though. X that out. Okay. See, my first thought was that I could be able to edit that text, and that's not right. So let's find out how we edit the text. All right, about page. Okay, so it looks like in order to edit, I have to double click in there, and then I can click in the text and change it. I make earrings out of fabric scraps, we'll say. So anybody have any questions? Anything you want to explore while I'm looking at this? At site header, let's change that. Let's see. Style. Okay. One thing to watch out for, you can see I switched this to a gradient, but what I don't love is that it's going a little bit dark at the bottom and I have black text over kind of a gray background. It's really important to watch out for contrast when you're choosing colors. Things can get hard to read very quickly. Let's see. Let's go back to all prints. I want to add some stuff. Save that. Okay, it looks like over here I have like a store thing. That seems great. I can put some things in. Anybody have any questions? Anything you want to see? Hearing none. This has been your tour of the Squarespace backend. I'm going to move to WordPress because WordPress is my environment. Once again, we're going to I actually already have a WordPress account, so I'm going to log in. No, I'm not, because I don't know my password. All right. So I'm not using my account. I'm going to create a new account. And part of this is just to demonstrate that this is easy to set up to begin with. Okay, I'm going to find a domain. So I don't really want to pay for it right now. So my domain is actually going to be just a WordPress domain. And you can see this, that WordPress has a free option here that you can do katesearings.wordpress.com. And if I want to pay to remove the WordPress.com, it's $18 a year, but free for the first year. And that the basic plan is $4 a month. Actually, let me go back to that real quick. We'll take a look right now at the WordPress plans. Let's see. So yeah, if I pay the $4 per month, then it removes the WordPress.com ads. See what the $8 gets me: chat support, ad revenue, premium themes, and Google Analytics integration. I right now don't need those things, so I'm skipping those. Okay, I'm skipping this part. I'm going to my own website and I'm going to show you the WordPress backend because that's how it goes. So WordPress, when you've had it installed, is, I don't know if you guys can see this, a little overwhelming on the back end. There's a lot of things talking to me right now. And this is part of what to expect. To start with, I can X that out. Am I enjoying exact metrics? Yes, I am, but I'm not going to push that because they're going to ask for my review. Go here to my site. And this is my site from before I started working at M&A. This is my when I was doing freelance design. The theme that I've chosen is Divi. It has this purple D logo. It is a paid theme, and it's I think $40 a year. I might be wrong about that. It might be $80. Either way, I think it's great because it has what you see is what you get, and drag and drop. So I can come in here and create a new section, let's say. So I can edit text right in it. I can see exactly how it's going to look as I'm editing, which is one of the things that I really love about it, because it gives me the opportunity to really hone in on things as I work. I can also check and see if this is mobile friendly. Here's how it looks on a phone. Oh, and see, this is disappointing because my beautiful picture of the dahlias is not very big, right? But I can grab this and make it a little bigger. Edit that. Oh, it's freezing on me, so I can't edit that. Anybody have any questions as I'm doing this? Any questions on, let's see, like website best design practices?
Kate, will you just show again how you went from your dashboard to this page? Because I think if I'm new to building a website, the dashboard is overwhelming, but knowing I can jump into here and kind of edit in page. Would you show that?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have WordPress set up, right up here in the top left where it says Kate Arpin Graphics, if you click it, it navigates to the dashboard. And if you're in the dashboard and you click it, it navigates to the front. So it's a toggle button, which is super nice. The other thing that I can do is I could go in here to pages. This is the harder way to go about it. Find the page that I want to edit and then edit that page.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a good question, Shelby. And there are a lot of things, because I'm used to doing this, that I do things quickly. So if you see anything, please let me know. Yeah, Kristen is right. Looking in the chat just now, she mentions LastPass. I actually have a password manager, but apparently I don't have the right password saved for WordPress. So who knows what's going on there. I use Dashlane for a password manager. If anybody has trouble remembering passwords, highly recommend getting a password manager. That's this little guy up here. And it saves every password I have ever used, and there's way too many of them. But the nice thing is that it also generates passwords for me, so that all my passwords are long, random strings of numbers and letters, and they're secure. I have Dashlane. I have the app on my phone as well, so that it syncs it between my phone and my computer. If you're still putting in the same password again, over and over again, and using it on different pages, please stop doing that. I don't know how else to say it. It's not safe. You eventually will have your credit card information stolen or some other such nonsense. So use a password manager. Kristen's also right. Starting with WordPress.com versus WordPress.org is super useful. This is complex, but I'm going to explain it. WordPress.com is a company like Squarespace or Wix that has a website builder. And its website builder happens to be its own WordPress system. WordPress.org is a content management system. So it is a big chunk, a big set of software. And when you buy your hosting, you can install that software on your server, and then you can use WordPress on your server and build your website that way. It is free for that software, but of course you have to purchase your own hosting. So when you're using WordPress.com, you're paying them to do the hosting and to kind of manage the back end for you. But you also then have to pay them for premium themes for all kinds of different features, right, that you might want. WordPress.org is free, and you can choose your own hosting and choose the hosting that fits right for you. So depending on your tech knowledge, your comfort adapting to new skills or to figuring things out, WordPress.org is really great. Like it's the big solution that has all the custom options, because then if I go back here to my back end, it has what's called plugins. And plugins expand it. They're little sets of software that add functionality to your website. So let's run through what I have. I have an anti-spam plugin because I have a contact form, and this helps make sure I'm not getting spam through my contact form. I have a security plugin. I have, the contact form that I just mentioned. I have, let's see, Fancy Box for WordPress. I actually don't know what that is right now. I'd have to look into it. Google Analytics Dashboard for WordPress. That might be my favorite plugin ever. That gives me a nice, it moved to exact metrics, but it gives me a nice dashboard view of who is visiting my website and when, just how many people are on it. Jetpack is a plugin from WordPress, from the people who make WordPress automatic. Okay, I have a really cool plugin. This is a fun one. This is Printful integration for Woocommerce. So I am a designer and I have designed things that sometimes people want on t-shirts. So I have set up this system where people can order prints or t-shirts on my website, and my website sends it automatically to Printful, and Printful prints the t-shirt with this, let's see, graphic. This is my most popular one. And then it mails it to those people, and I get a little money in my bank account whenever someone orders it, and I don't have to do anything. And that is the magic of plugins and WordPress, is that you can really make things, you can expand at will. Squarespace, I'm sure, has similar options. I haven't explored it myself enough to know. Let's see what else I have over here. An optimizer. This one helps my site go faster. I have an under construction plugin, so I can turn this on if I want to have a page that just says, hey, I'm working on the website, whenever I'm making big changes and I don't want people seeing my draft of my website. I have WooCommerce. This is a super popular e-commerce plugin. If you want to sell anything on your website, I highly recommend it. It's free. Of course, there's things you can pay for to add on to it, but it's a great way to create products and a checkout experience for people. Then it comes with a couple extra things. I have WooCommerce shipping and tax, so that when people order, it sets up shipping for me. And I have the WooCommerce Stripe gateway, so that is how I take credit card payments on my website. Let's see, what else do I have? WordPress logo showcase. That's just a little plugin that shows some of the clients that I've worked for, right? Yeah, and you can see I have not been in this website in a long time because I have been working for M&A and not really bothering to get freelance clients because I have a full-time job and I don't need clients. So that's it. There's a lot of maintenance to be done on this website, but it's there, it's working. If I were to go back to the website planner, I would totally rework it right now. But it is there, it's out there. I'd really love it if anybody had questions or things, website questions that you want answered, because Kristen, did I consider Printify? Yes. Yeah, Printful just happened to be the one that worked for me. Printify and Printful are super similar, dropship printing. They're wonderful. Have I been happy with Printful? I will say that my husband ordered one of my t-shirts and it came and it was printed like, no one would notice this except a designer, but like slightly crookedly. So like, I'm not 100% happy with it, but it's okay. It functions well enough. Let's see.
Hey,
Anyone else have any other questions? I'd love to answer specific questions because I find that trainings go best when, especially when it comes to tech, there's so much to cover that, you know, I want to make it useful for you. So please, if you have questions or something you're doing. Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
Where do the plugins come from? Because when I went to redo the Chamber's website, it was on a WordPress site, and the backend was absolutely terrifying for me because it didn't seem user-friendly at all. And it was just kind of, it looked a lot more technical than I think it might actually be now that I'm kind of watching you navigate it.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to go show you this. So plugins down here. Okay, so you can see these are my installed plugins, but there's this button, add new. And in here, this is the WordPress plugin library. God only knows how many are on there. There's so many. So let me think about something that I want to do. Okay, I have an Instagram, let's say, and I want to connect my Instagram account, and I want to have like a little box that shows my latest Instagram post. So I'm going to search Instagram in here in the plugin. Okay, so now it comes up with plugins that can do that, right? So we have Smash Balloon, Social Photo Feed, and the WordPress plugin library is it's a repository. Anybody can put a plugin on WordPress, but they give you some information to help you choose what's going to be useful. So for example, this one, I would feel comfortable installing because it has over 1 million installations. It's compatible with my current version of WordPress. It was last updated 10 hours ago, so it's current and up to date. It has plenty of 5-star reviews. The other thing is that I often just read these, and if there's a lot of typos, I tend not to trust the plugin. And that's just based on the idea that if you're not paying attention to about the plugin, then are you paying attention to your code? And that's a feeling of mine. But so basically, I'll look at these different plugins, assess what they do, and then install them. So if I want Smash Balloon Social Photo Feed, then all I have to do is push the install now button and activate it, and it'll be on my website. And the theme section is super similar.
Okay.
So yeah, but once again, it can be super overwhelming because there's so many out there that, like, how do you pick them? And that's where the overwhelm comes in, because it's hard to know what's going to be good. I always look at the number of active installations. So, I want to see at least a few thousand, if not 100,000 installations.
So,
right. Unless it's a really niche thing that I'm doing.
sure. So follow up, say you start a brand new website, where do you start on the back end of this?
Where do you start? So as soon as you sign in, you're going to be in your dashboard. Start by building a page. So we're going to go pages and add new. Has a nice little welcome to the block editor.
And Kate, is that block editor because you have the Divi builder?
No, so the block editor that I'm in is native to WordPress. It was newly introduced a couple years ago. They used to have, they call it a classic builder, but so now the block editor, each piece of content is called a block. So this is a sample page. This is the title of the page. Then I'm going to go in here. I can just type something about pages. That's a paragraph block. Or I can click this plus button and see what kind of blocks are available to me. So I might have a heading or a quote. Maybe I want to put an image in, maybe image compare. That's cool. That must be from one of my plugins because it's green. So that means it's kind of special. I'm going to do a cover image, and I'm going to select some media from my media library. These are images that I already had loaded on my website. You can see there I have my t-shirts. I'm going to select this nice So the cover image comes with a text section. Obviously, this text is not going to work over that image. Like there's not enough contrast to read it.
Mhm.
Also, I didn't spell beautiful. There we go. I'm going to go over here in the settings for this block, and I'm going to change the text color and make it white so it stands out. For the image, I'm going to do, let's see, a fixed image. So that'll mean as I scroll, it adjusts.
Mhm.
That's hard to see right now, but I'm going to publish this page. Now I'm going to preview it in a new tab. It's going to take us over there. And there's my, and you can see it's a fixed image, so it stays put as the screen scrolls. It's not a cool feature.
Yep. Okay. It's interesting to see the back end of WordPress in kind of a fresh nature versus what I first saw. Because what I first saw was
Yes.
very intimidating. But seeing this, it's not nearly as intimidating.
No, yeah, I totally agree. It looks overwhelming. It can feel overwhelming, and people frequently, I frequently get feedback that it's overwhelming. And that's where I say, like, push all the buttons, go into it. The new Gutenberg, the block editor, is wonderful and easy to use. I'm going to go back to this page editor. There's just tons you could like. So I can also, maybe I want a 2-column layout. So I'm going to go down here to design, and I'm going to do columns. So I'm going to do 2 columns. And then in this column, I'm going to put an image, another one. Oh, I'm not going to upload. I'm going to select an image from my media library. And then I'm going to put in a heading over here. Right. And so this is all super easy to do.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm going to preview this, and pretty much the editor shows you what it's going to look like, but I always check it again because you can see it didn't give me the space that I thought I would have on this back end. So in this section, I'm going to add a spacer, and I'm going to make it, I think 70 pixels is going to do it. I'm going to preview in a new tab again. So there we go. Now that gave me a little more breathing room around that. Yeah, it has changed. WordPress has changed a lot, especially in the past couple of years. And it's gotten a lot more user-friendly. I, of course, have been designing with WordPress for almost 10 years. Actually, 10 years this month. So, and I have always found it to be user-friendly, but for people who are not as intrepid as me, and I realize I'm an intrepid tech person, it has really improved, and it has a ton of features. I think the biggest thing about it is just that it has so many features it can be hard to know where to start. And that's why we developed the handout for you. Like, start with a plan, have an idea of what you want to put on your website and what people are looking for. That's really key, because you can't just dive into this and start. You're going to get so lost, right? If you just start putting things out there. Whereas if you've taken a moment to write down what the information that you need to put on your website, who's going to use it, and honestly, look at a few websites that you like, or a few of your competitors, or people that do the same thing as you, and how their websites look. And that can really help you get an idea of what kind of information you might need to put on a website and how you might lay it out in a way that's useful for people. I'm gonna stop sharing now, and we're at the point where we can wrap up. If anybody has any other questions about websites, next week I really want to talk about audience and thinking about your audience, and we're going to talk about social media as well, because that's part of web presence too. Anybody have other questions? Tara, you're muted.
I know I'm talking to myself. It's a habit.
Fair enough. I also do that. Yeah. Thanks for having us here. I hope that I've helped people and not just confused you. I realize that what I find when people want a website training is that they want to know how to use their own website. And the only way to tell you how to do that is for me to be in your website. So there's a lot that you have to just play with and just Google your questions. Like, I hate to say that, but truly, like, it's the internet, it's overwhelming, but it's also magical because there's somebody out there that has the same problem that you've run into, or that has the same website builder. Somebody has done the same thing that you're looking to do. And something about the internet makes people want to write about the problems that they solved. So somebody out there has probably written about it too. And that honestly is why I like WordPress, because it has so many features, because so many people use it. There's just a huge, huge community of support and a ton of people and a ton of articles and information about how to do it. And I'm one of those people out there that can answer questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. This has been
Yeah.
great. And I feel like I learned something too. I didn't even know
Well,
I
good.
needed to learn about WordPress, but here I am thinking, I think I could do this next too.
You could totally do WordPress for sure.
Awesome. Well, if nobody has any questions, we'll go ahead and stop the recording.